Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, Executive Editor at ClassicsToday.com, here to talk to you about Shostakovich's Grand Ballet and his best, The Golden Age. Yes, most people know this piece from the suite, which is charming, and from the little polka. I mean, it's amazing. The whole piece is like 2 hours, and it's just 2 hours and 23 minutes long, but this little 2-minute polka is the piece that always gets played, and it is, of course, charming and delightful. But the Golden Age is Shostakovich's biggest, first, and best ballet, written in that juicy period between his first symphony and his fourth symphony, that is the 1920s and early 30s, when Soviet artists were allowed to be provocative within the confines, of course, of the ideological, socialist, Marxist, whatever they were doing. But Shostakovich wrote this piece full of youth and vim and vigor. And if you like the Fourth Symphony and that kind of music, his spikier period, then you're going to love this ballet. I mean, the music is quite wonderful. As a ballet, it was an abject failure. It's really very, very funny because Shostakovich and the person who wrote the scenario, I mean, let's face it, ballet scenarios are stupid anyway. They're even worse than operas because they're supposed to tell a story, that is at least full-length classical style ballets like this one. They're supposed to tell a story, but the characters can't talk. And they have to do it through dance. And there's a limit. There's just a limit to what you can do through dance and those ridiculous pantomime scenes, where they do this. And even in the best of times, in the Romantic period, at least in the pantomime scenes, they had like love scenes. They could be upset. They could have obvious emotions based on the interrelationship of the characters. So, they're like, that they could sort of convey what's happening. But how? How on earth do you convey? Let us see here from the scenario. Let's see. Dance of the Black Man and two Soviet football players, the supposed terrorist, the touching coalition of the classes, slightly fraudulent, the entrance of the diva and the fascists. I mean, this does not, the entrance of the diva and the fascists must be like, you have your diva, who's dressed up probably, diva-like. And then you've got, fascists running around like this in ballet slippers. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they did. I have no idea what they did. But let's face it, it was hopeless. The actual story of this thing involved a Soviet football, which for us Americans is soccer team in the West, and the horrible capitalist temptations that they are confronted with as they go to play football and demonstrate the triumph of the socialist ideal through sport. Now, Shostakovich was a soccer, aka football, fanatic. So this was a perfect story for him. But he also tended to write pieces in complete forms, and the music had to have its own independent life, which was bad for ballet, especially when the guy doing the scenario really didn't know what was going on or what he wanted to do. And so the music and the dance never quite came together. Anyway, the whole piece was a terrible flop, and Shostakovich rated the music in his later two ballets, The Bolt and The Limpid Stream. So the three ballets that he wrote have certain things in common musically, which makes them kind of pointless to listen to. If you want to get them separately, you get the Golden Age. I mean, there have been a few recordings of it. Now, this one that I'm talking about is just the easiest to get at this point, I think. It's with the Royal Scottish National Orchestra under Jose Cerebrier, and it's fabulous. It's just first rate. Rojdestvensky did it on Chandos. That was also fabulous. Very, very good. And Rojdestvensky also did the Limpid Stream and the Bolt, or at least a suite from the Bolt, because by the time Shostakovich got to the Bolt, not only did he hate the project, but he had so much ballet music around from his two previous miserable failures that he was able to just sort of, steal all the music and reassemble it in different form and call it something else. So there's less original music in that third ballet than in the first two. And it's just, so they're a bit of a mess. They really are. But if you're going to get a Shostakovich ballet, get the complete golden age on Chandos, because it's just 2 hours and 23 minutes of riotous early Shostakovich. What it's about is completely unimportant, totally unimportant. And it's just a big piece. I have the score here. Here it is. And I want to tell you what it's written for. It's quite the ensemble. I mean, it's very ambitious. It's a young composer feeling his oats and just getting out there and doing his thing. I mean, it's really, I just think it's really cool. This, by the way, these are very reasonable, these scores. This is the Novoye Sobrania Sochinini, the New Collected Works, volume 60A. 60B, I guess, is the suite. I don't know. So this is, now the golden age in Russian is Zolotoy Viek. Zolotoy Viek, which is ballet. It's a ballet v'triach, destviach, 3 acts, shesti kartinach, and 6 scenes. And it's, let's see here. Hang on, let's get to the here we are. The orchestra. Get this. This is like quite an orchestra. You've got a piccolo and a flute that doubles on piccolo, oboe, English horn, E-flat clarinet, regular clarinet, bass clarinet, 2 soprano saxophones, bassoon, contrabassoon, 3 trumpets, 4 horns, 3 trombones, tuba. Here comes the percussion. Yay! Timpani, triangle, a fischietto. A fischietto is a whistle, like a police whistle or a sports whistle. A whistle, a woodblock, castanets, a rattle or a ratchet, a tambourine, the snare drum, cymbals, bass drum, tam-tam, a flexitone. Ooh, a flexitone, it goes, woo, you shake it like that. The glockenspiel, xylophone, celesta, harp, a banjo, a bayan, which is a Russian folk instrument. And then you've got the violins, normal strings, and a banda. You have a band, all these early pieces. Lady Macbeth of Sense, they all have an extra brass band. Like for the sex scene in Lady Macbeth of Mitsensk, that's the brass band going nuts. And the banda consists of 2 cornets, 3 trumpets, and a bunch of horns, 2 alto horns, 2 baritone horns, and 2 bass horns. Wow, baby. It's a big, serious extravaganza of early Shostakovich. And, it does have some beautiful lyrical melodies. It's got a gorgeous adagio in it, of Tchaikovsky romantic sort of, it does do that here and there. But I'm going to play you a big chunk, a big set piece, which is the can-can. God knows why it's called a can-can. There's nothing can-can about it, but it's a maybe could or a might instead of a can-can. Let's see, where is it? It's the end of scene 5, which is on CD 2 in Act 3. And it's 6 minutes and 21 seconds in this performance. Now, I actually participated in a recording of the can-can. It's on Earquake, the disc that I made with the Helsinki Philharmonic on Ondine for the world's loudest classical pieces. But I just think this single movement, 6 minutes and 21 seconds, so perfectly encapsulates everything that early Shostakovich was about. It really does. It's just wild, and it builds to this. It starts out sort of, insouciant and builds to this insane climax. And I can imagine what possibly could this be about plot-wise? in a ballet. One of the things about the music is at this stage of Shostakovich's career, his music was not what we might call conventionally happy or sad or tragic. It was brittle, it was sardonic, it was a little bit of both. Even when he was being sort of bombastic and heroic, there was always an undercutting, sort of sardonic edge to it. And I mean, this piece, for example, the can-can begins, it's light and fluffy, it ends with this La Valse-like apocalypse. So here is the disc, just with Jose Cerebriere and the Royal Scottish National Orchestra on Naxos doing the complete Shostakovich Golden Age. Just get this. It really belongs in your Shostakovich collection. And when you have some time, play the whole thing, play it in bits, do it however you want. It doesn't make any difference. It's just fun. It's incredibly fun and catchy and fun to listen to. And I think that is, a very high compliment, actually. So keep on listening, folks. Thanks for joining me. Enjoy the Golden Age. Zlotoy Wiek. Yeah.